Reddit, what secret are you taking to the grave? NSFW. When my cousin died a few years ago, my family went over to his house to look around for a sense of closure. I ducked away for a bit and noticed his computer was still on. On his desktop was his porn folder. I deleted it before my aunt and uncle saw it. Edit, a word. Me and my wife were going through tough times. I just got back from Afghanistan. I played Russian roulette with my 357 Magnum. 3 loaded. I lost. Getting a divorce now and alive. When my brother committed suicide, I was walking into his house to go hang out. And I never knock because we're best friends, so his house is my house and my house is his house. Anyway, I walked and got some food from the kitchen and figured he might have a girl over because usually he'll hear me and say what's up from across the house, so I didn't bother him. I've been in his house eating for about 10 minutes when I hear the gunshot that killed him. When anyone asks, I tell them I found him like that. I don't think I'll be able to ever tell anyone I know that if I would have just knocked or walked down the hall, I might have saved his life. Edit, to give an insight on any reasoning for what my brother did, whether it be financial issues, relationship troubles, or what have you, I'll give you the last line of the short note he wrote before he died. It reads, "So I am truly sorry if you think I'm being selfish when I have been selfless my entire life and it has left me with nothing. Rest in peace, brother. I miss you." When we were kids, a female cousin and I played doctor around the age of 6 or 7. Talked about it a few years ago around the age of 25. Became deeply intimate and have had really incredible sex several times over the last few years. She recently got married and we have since ended our relationship. We are both normal, successful, contributing citizens. You'd never know. Hopefully no one finds out. But I miss her and our level of intimacy. My mother killed my father when I was 8 years old, with a shotgun blast to the face. He bled out through what was left of his head into my lap. Blood has a smell, a stink. When there's enough of it around, she got off. Because it was a self-defense situation, she sent me to school the next day, and ever since I've pretended that I'm a well-adjusted, stable person. I'm not. I'm not sure if I'm going to take this to the grave or not. Several months ago I, 22, had I'm lonely and you're lonely 6 with my ex-girlfriend, 19. The next day we woke up and decided mutually that it was a mistake. We should move on. etc. Well, that small mistake turned into a larger one. She got pregnant. We wrestled with a lot of things for the next few weeks. Did she want to consider abortion? No. Did she want to consider adoption? Possibly. How do we tell our parents? My parents would be upset, then immediately turn into the supportive parents they are. Hers would absolutely cut her off. Never talk to her again. Completely disowned her. They told her they would. Hundreds of times. And she was growing up. So, we struggled. 1 week turned into 2. Which turned into 3. She was now 8 weeks pregnant. I get a call one night last week around 1 AM. She says that she is heading to the hospital. That something isn't right. I meet her there. She describes incessant bleeding and very, very bad cramps. After 5 hours in the hospital, the doctor confirms what we'd already begun to fear. She had had a complete miscarriage. Just like that. Then, she was no longer pregnant, even in the middle of this terrible incident. She said she wanted no one to know about it. No one. About the pregnancy. About the miscarriage. About anything. I'm still conflicted. Miscarriages are very emotional events. And I can't go to my parents to talk it over with or hug it out with my best friend or anything. It's been a weird, rough few days. TLDR. Got my ex pregnant. She had a miscarriage before we were able to tell anyone. No one knows. She wants to keep it that way. Edit. Woke up to this. I'm sorry if I don't reply to everyone. I am going to read every comment to this though. Thank you everyone for taking the time to reply. Thank you for the gold. Anonymous stranger. To everyone saying simply that I dodge a bullet, you're not entirely wrong. To be honest, I thought that I would leave the hospital feeling great, relieved, but I didn't. Miscarriages are weird. Even though it wasn't planned, the grief is very real. The first person I ever fapped to was Wanda from the Fairly Odd Parents. My dad's a National Socialist and he regularly goes to meetings. I was raised on Germanic folklore and the idea that I'm superior to others because I'm of German descent. I have plenty of Jewish and slavish friends and I just tell them my dad died when I was younger. TLDR, my dad's a Nazi. Edit. Wow. Gold because my dad's a Nazi? One night I woke up with my mind in a twist. My mom was in the hospital at the time. I had a crazy urge to call them and check on her, but I reasoned not to because I couldn't think of an excuse, so I fell back to sleep. 5 AM I get a call that they checked on her and she didn't have a pulse. I just think there was something I could have done that destroys me to even think about it. I went to counseling for abuse after my parents divorced, and I was never abused, so they put me in the regular room with all the people there who were waiting for their siblings. I claimed my father abused me so I could go to the special room with all the abused kids. It was horrible. I had no right being in that room with all those people. They all were really messed up from what their parents had done to them. And I just got in so I could play Yu-Gi-Oh! Edit. I was probably 7 or 8. And for what I know my father did not get in trouble. I see him every week. I didn't know what I was doing back then. This is ducked up and definitely a secret I'm taking to my grave. Back when I was 13 I had discovered masturbation, and the closest thing I could fap into was my mom's panties. I used to steal her panties, lick them, sniff them, wear them around the house under my pants. I would come on command while talking to her while trying to keep a straight face. It was weird and exciting. Well into my teenager years, whenever my friends would invite me over, I used to sneak into their parents' room, and the sister's room or their own room and steal their panties. I would wear their panties and do the same, talk to them while coming with a straight face. They had no idea. I hope. It was also exciting to me, and it's ducked up as well. Thongs, G-strings, boy shorts and normal granny panties. I've accumulated all over the years and had close to 200 pairs. A few years ago I got serious with a girl. I fapped in her mom's panties as well, and moved in with her. I had to dispose my precious panty collection. So I did with sadness. Now I work in a job where I take care of people's luggages. Sometimes I go into female luggage and steal their panties, fap in them and return them in their luggage. Call me sick. I know it's ducked up, but it's a secret I'm taking to my grave. A friend had an abortion before her marriage. Her husband doesn't know. It was his kid. She swore me to secrecy. I will never tell. I.F. had sex with our dog when I was 11-13. Edit. I went to bed thinking, hoping this would not make it this high up. I'll keep answering any questions you have as honestly as I can. Edit 2. I'm not getting this Colby reference from half of you. I worked for a shipping company at a customer desk. A guy I had known came in to ship a package. He was a known drug dealer in my town. He didn't recognize me. The package was wrapped in duct tape. I took the package, brought it out back and made it disappear into my backpack. After my shift I opened the package and found $37,890 in cash. I never went back to the job and never heard anything about it. I left Texas a month later with cash in hand. I threw rocks at the school with one of my best mates and some other student tattled on us. Basically we both got the paddle. Basically they smack your bum, and they sent a letter home to my dad. My dad received the letter and I lied to him and said I never threw the rocks. My dad, bless his heart, believed me and took it to our school principal and convinced him that I wouldn't lie about such things. Since the principal wanted to rectify it for my dad's sake, he offered me a free voucher for an ice cream as an apology. It's 15 years down the track now, and I still feel really bad for it. I feel like if I told my dad now it would break his heart. That when my ex called me to look at something weird in the toilet, it was actually a really early miscarriage and not just really weird period stuff, because it would have mentally broken a girl that was already unstable. But I'm dying inside. In 7th grade Joe thought Brandon put the lime salt on his brownie, but it was actually me. In 3rd grade, I cheated on my history exam. In 4th grade, I stole my Uncle Max's toupee and I glued it on my face when I was Moses in my Hebrew school play. In 5th grade, I knocked my sister Edie down the stairs and I blamed it on the dog. When my mom sent me to the summer camp for fat kids and then they served lunch, I got nuts and I pigged out and they kicked me out. But the worst thing I ever done, I mixed a pot of fake puke at home and then I went to this movie theater, hid the puke in my jacket, climbed up to the balcony and then, then, I made a noise like this, hooah 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 hooah, and then I dumped it over the side, all over the people in the audience. And then, this was horrible. All the people started getting sick and throwing up all over each other. I never felt so bad in my entire life. I've heard most of these. Edit. Dear Lord, my inbox. Sweet delicious secrets. Edit 2. You people are so ducked up. Keep them coming. Edit 3. I didn't realize an inbox could hold this many responses. And I don't think I've stopped masturbating since. Edit 4. Might as well get us off of my chest. Without going into great detail. Purposely vague. More than 5 years ago I was a part of a group of 3-5 people that would successfully take the MCAT in place of others for a fee. We were all adept at taking the exam. Our clients were old money types with kids who could not make the cut or didn't want to try. The fee was $100 K plus any other extra charges. Fake fingerprints, IDs, prosthetics, you name it, and we did it. I had no qualms doing this as my reasoning was if they can't pass the exam, how in the duck would they get through med school plus steps? Take their money and let them fail out of med. No problems until one of the clients actually managed to get through school and had racked up some malpractice. Thankfully nothing too serious. It hit me hard to the point of attempted suicide. I quit and went to therapy and the group disbanded. For other reasons. Shortly thereafter. I'm doing much better now, but this info is staying with me from people that I know, and staying with you, random reader. My dad cheated on my mum with her sister when I was born. My aunt moved in to help my mother with the newborn, that is, me. My mother told me while she was drunk at a dinner party, and started it all off with I know I sometimes sound like I hate you, but there's a reason. So, even though I love both of my parents, I secretly think they're both pretty awful excuses for human beings. My dad for obvious reasons. My mother for holding it all against me. Edit. I'm so sorry for the earlier ambiguity. My mother was the one who told me. I have never been allowed to meet my auntie, but never really knew why until my mother spilled the beans. Until then, I had been offered the excuse that it was because my mother didn't like my auntie's husband. Turns out my dad is the D-head. Bacon is always the first food to be cooked by my father in the mornings. As a child, I would steal myself an extra piece and blame it on my little brother. Hence, get a total of 3 pieces. And Browski would only get 1. Looking back, the oldest kid gets away with so much it. I was giving my cat a belly rub and it jizzed all over my hand, Me and my girlfriend were playing Monopoly and she was so concentrated on the game, on the dice, on her properties. She was just so engrossed in the board that I was constantly taking money out of the bank and keeping it. I feel terrible about it because she was just so adorable trying to play the game and concentrate on trying to win. I absolutely annihilated her because I had so much money. She wasn't a sore loser about it. When we were done playing and it was obvious I had won, she just kind of sighed and we watched a movie. The whole time I couldn't stop thinking about how absolutely adorable she looked while trying to concentrate and play. The way she looked at the money she had and the properties she bought, like she was so proud of them. And I took advantage of that and stole money to win. I learned that from now on winning doesn't matter. I need to focus on having fun with her. But I will take this to the grave because if she ever finds out she'll be talking it like nobody's business. Yesterday I responded to a car accident. I literally watched a girl I was in high school with die. She was screaming and begging to live, and then she wasn't. It wasn't surreal or like Hollywood. If one more person asks me if it was like the movies, I'm gonna punch them the duck out. I've seen my fair share of bad accidents and have never really been bothered by death. My first call was a really bad accident. Only thing I was worried about was getting dinner. Duck, I slept like a baby last night and didn't think twice about it. I'm more pissed that a young girl died with her whole life ahead of her all because she wasn't ducking, paying attention to where she was going. People, pay the duck attention when you're driving. When you get yourself killed, it may end for you, but not for everyone else. That text message is not worth it. It's not worth it. What no one knows is that I came dangerously close to crying my ducking eyes out over it. This girl was literally one of the nicest girls I've known in my life. I was bullied in 9th grade, and she was one of the few cool kids that actually treated me kindly. I didn't know her well, but I'm sure as hell pissed that she had to die yesterday. I'm an out lesbian, but a few weeks ago I had sex with a male friend of mine. He's gay. We both got drunk and curious and had never gotten with the opposite sex. Edit. We both actually kind of enjoyed it, and for those wondering, I am not a butch. I am a femme. We had made out a few times before drunk, then we sort of got curious and decided to go for it, and we both have expressed interest in trying it again. The reason why I would take this to the gravies, as some people have pointed out, there is so much baggage involved in identifying as a bisexual woman, especially when I have been an out lesbian for most of my adult life. Coming out was the hardest thing I have ever done, and I am ashamed to admit I was one of those lesbians who hated on bisexual women as being fence-sitters, etc. And I worry that if people know that my friend and I slept together, it would just reinforce stereotypes about gay men and women just needing to find the right member of the opposite sex to set them straight. We are both single, and I honestly don't know what to think. My friend is the first dude I have ever been attracted to, and I think I am the first woman he's been sexually attracted to as well, so as much as we want to explore it, we are both a bit weirded out by it. All the R34 I've drawn over the years. Edit. Of course this would be my top comment. Damn it guys. Also sorry, I don't want to connect my artistic side to this username. X. In 5th grade I cheated on an exam. My buddy and I were the only 2 people in the grade who got this particular question correct, but I copied him. The worst part was he was considered dumb while I was at the top of the class, so the teacher was convinced that he copied me and he ended up getting suspended. Long story short, I was too pussy to admit that I was the one who cheated, as my parents would have murdered me if I failed the test, and even worse if I got suspended. My sister and I were on holiday together recently and very drunk one night when we got back from the bar. Naturally we started drinking more because we were on holiday. She has the ice cube tray in her hand, opens the window simultaneously and loses her focus and drops the tray 5 floors to the street, hitting a big guy square in the dome. He looks up and started screaming and shouting in Italian. I live in Rome, so I understood he was calling us some bad names. We just closed the window and continued drinking while we could hear this man shouting he was going to come up there and rip our heads off. Please never find me MR scary Italian man. I want to rail my girlfriend's sister. I love my girlfriend. I want to marry her one day, but her sister might be the most attractive human being I've ever seen. And if she ever tried to have sex with me, I don't know that I'd be able to say no. Edit. Guys, I'm not really going to have sex with my girlfriend's sister. She's just super hot, and in another life I would do it in a heartbeat. Edit 2. Ducking OP. You had to front page. RIP inbox. A friend of mine confessed that a few years before I met her she got pregnant by a man who didn't want to have anything to do with the baby or her. She could not afford to raise the baby herself, so she continued with the pregnancy but did not tell anyone at work because she feared that she would be judged for it. She scheduled a C-section for Friday afternoon, took a half day off work, and was back on Monday. The baby was adopted by 2 of her friends. No one at work ever knew what she did. She said she was able to cover up her pregnancy by wearing extremely baggy clothes. Edit. To answer some questions, I had to Google the Peggy reference. I didn't think she stole the idea from Mad Men, but who knows. Yes, she is a bigger chick, so easier to hide weight gain. Agree, the C-section detail sounds sketchy. This was a story that was told to me, not one that I could personally verify. Uncle tragically passed away last year. Never married. No kids. Treated his 10 nieces and nephews like we could do no wrong. I also found out he was probably gay, and I don't think he was out to my family, or at least to most of us. No one would have had a problem with it. But it's hard to come out when my grandma just wants to set her youngest, would have turned 50 in May, baby up with all the ladies. Yeah, no? She's persistent but means well. Is also a tad oblivious at times, but she's in her 80s. Anyway, after he passed, my dad and I were in charge of finding files to the book he was supposedly writing about our family. We wanted to finish the book and publish it in his name. My dad was having no luck finding files on his HD, so I took a stab at it. Dad isn't the best at computers. I found dating site photos he had taken, shirtless mirror pics, photos of guys I assume he was talking to, and emo he could have done better. You're the best uncle and only deserve the best. Also saw his history when I was looking through his browser's bookmarks to get to his emails and accounts. I forget if I deleted it yet. If I haven't, I will. I figured the search history was confirmation enough for me. Edit. Probably won't tell my cousin or sister after all. Like I said, I assume that cousin knew. They were very close and talked frequently. And even if she doesn't, doesn't matter. Won't change anything bad or good either way. And it's not my place to say anything. Thank you for advice on that. Folks, miss you. UB. I was accidentally switched at birth and my, not biological, parents don't know. I'm 25 and was recently approached by a private investigator who informed me that I was accidentally switched at birth with another family's baby. Apparently they were always a little doubtful that their child's appearance was indicative of their genes, so they did a DNA test when their kid was about 12 and they essentially waited until I was an adult to find me. At 12 years old they feared I might have wanted to come live with them or their child would want to live with my family, so they waited until we were adults to tell us. This is where things get weird. My biological mom is a relatively famous entertainer who has been in and out of the spotlight over the past 30 years or so. I remember watching her on TV and my mom telling me that I looked like her. I remember disagreeing and going back into my room to play Perfect Dark on my N64. At this point, 1999, nobody knew the mix-up had occurred. Through her generosity I have inherited millions of dollars among other things, and nobody will know. Not even my parents who raised me. People will know I have the money because I'm gonna buy some wallet with it, but I have no idea what to tell people when they ask me where it came from. TLDR. Reddit is gullible. I had sex with both of my best friend's sisters while he was asleep. Edit. Wasn't at the same time and I wouldn't tell him because I think it was a bad decision. There was also a lot of alcohol involved. Throwaway for the obvious. M/18 at the time, my first night away from my parents, in a new town for college. I was raped, also lost my virginity, by a girl with a combination of severe autism and Down syndrome. I had passed out in a bed after a party. First day of college, why not celebrate, right? I awoke to find myself tied up and her slamming me. I tried to fight back, throw her off, but she burst my nose then choked me out. I woke up the next morning untied, covered in blood, semen, and my clothes completely ripped up from scissors. Now 23, living with my girlfriend. The question obviously came up once or twice. It's generally a funny, embarrassing story for most people. I can't bring myself to tell her the truth. I also won't ever let her get on top while we have sex. Edit. Gold. Wow, thank you. Thank you everyone for the kind words, help. This was years ago and I generally try to just focus on my studies. I'm close to qualifying as a psychiatric nurse. A lot of therapy has been suggested, but it very rarely makes an appearance, and all it does now is stop me for a minute while I think. But if I ever just break down in tears one day, I'll more than likely seek help. Well, I certainly hope that my grandma takes the fact that she just caught me masturbating while we are on a giant family vacation to the grave with her. I've never felt so embarrassed. Edit. While that misplaced modifier. Still not changing it. It looks better that way. I was in kindergarten, probably 5 years old, and during sleeping time I asked a girl to show me her D. I lost my virginity to a prostitute. When I was 16, I was in a relationship with a man older than my father. I'm getting married soon, and he still mopes around and says how much he loves me and will never find someone like me. It's annoying, but also makes me feel guilty as hell. My parents took me to get my hearing checked when I was 12 because I wasn't responding when they called my name. I pretended not to hear some of the beeps in the hearing aid test room. As a result, I wore a hearing aid for 2 years when I was 12-14 years old. I don't know why I did that. I once put a bottle in my butt to poop into it. It's nothing big. It's actually something really small and innocent, and I've just decided to tell no one IRL. When I was 5 years old, a friend at primary school, whose name is Jay, told me he liked a girl called Day and asked me never to tell anyone. I never have and I never will. Almost 30 years and I haven't told anyone. Over the years I've thought about saying something to someone about it, but I've never been able to bring myself to do it. Just something about the innocence of that promise, I guess. He wouldn't even care now. But 5-year-old Jay would, and I don't want to break my promise to him. It ends as don't do too well with compliments. But for what it's worth, thank you. Not as huge as the other secrets here, but about 6 or 7 years ago I created a video together with my former boss. He was really passionate about it. After we put it up on YouTube, I commented "awesome" with my private account from home. The next day he was really excited about this comment. Didn't know it was me, and I'm going to keep it a secret. It is the only comment this video ever got, at least the last time I saw it. Edit. I don't have the YT link anymore, but it's on the website. My freshman year of college, I was really hungover one morning and I was back at my parents' house for the rest of the weekend. I was wearing loose-fitting athletic shorts with no underwear and kind of rocking back and forth in front of the TV to feel that satisfying slap. Any dude knows what I'm talking about. Well, I went to fart, but instead a stream of diarrhea squirted out just at the right moment and completely missed my shorts but got all over the carpet. I went to the bathroom to grab some TP, and by the time I got back to the living room, my dad was on his hands and knees cleaning it up and yelling at my dog. I've never had the heart to tell him it was my accident. TL. Doctor, I shat the carpet but let my dog take the blame while my dad cleaned it up. The secret formula for the Krabby Patty. In my younger years, I had a neighbor that constantly left a mess in the yard, making it look like a junkyard, and they let their kids just run around ducking up the entire neighborhood. I tried to sort it out civilly with them by asking them to stop doing things that pissed off everyone, but the only response I got was that I was racist and they would target me and say I touched their kids if I ever talked to them again. They were grade A assholes, so I decided to respond in kind and made an anonymous tip to the cops that they were selling drugs. I did this for maybe 4 months, asking my buddies to make similar tips every now and then. Well, one day I come home from school. The whole neighborhood is outside on the street and the asshole's house had cop cars and a van outside. Turns out the tips worked and the cops finally checked it out. But then I see the mother and father getting led out in cuffs. Turns out when the cops showed up, it was just 2 officers. But when they went to the door to talk to them, the father took off out the back door. Long story short, that made the cops chase him down, drag him back, search the house and end up finding a duckton of pills, coke, and weed stashed all over the house. Since they had kids, the hammer came down on the hard for that, and in the end they were both arrested for dealing and the kids were taken away. Not sure if it was the right thing, and I will never let anyone know. But at least after that they weren't ducking up the neighborhood anymore.